What's going on today, my fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez. We're back once again with another Zenkaiger review as we're about to go ahead and get into episode number 46, ladies and gentlemen. After this, 3 more episodes left, so we're very close certainly to the finale. Had the opportunity to certainly check out the preview also for next week. The momentum swing is definitely about to be here, and this is certainly the episode that definitely kicks it off. So let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. Remember, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A-plus opinions, but I want to know yours. What did you guys think about this particular episode? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. And if there's any character details or storyline details that I might miss that you want to further talk about, let your thoughts be known in the comment section, guys, and we'll definitely continue this discussion until next week's episode. But before we get that, let's dive into episode number 46, shall we? As we get to see Stacey, the god, if you will, at this particular point in time, really trying to do his best to let the Zenkaigers know, listen, I'm on your side here. Maybe we should certainly work together in regards to taking out the Toji Tendo. And I love the fact that we get the Zenkaiger team along with Kaito that's a little bit suspicious in regards to certainly what's going on, right? The idea like, Stacey, this clearly can't be you. You did not have this sort of ability or power when we first met you this entire time. You've never brought this up to us. Clearly, you certainly must be somebody else. And in this episode, we at least get the motivations by this particular entity, this god, if you will. Apparently, he's not a fan of the Toji Tendo either, and certainly wants to go ahead and take them down. Considering the fact that he claims he's the one that sort of created all these worlds, he kind of looks around and sees what the Toji Tendo are doing to them, and he really hates the idea that they've certainly have treated these worlds so incredibly poor. So the excuse that he's certainly given the Zenkaigers is, I'm trying to take down the Toji Tendo one at a time. You guys are clearly trying to do the same thing. Maybe we can work together. I'll get you inside the Toji Tendo Palace. You guys do your own thing, and we both help each other out. But we definitely have some characters in here that are very cautious, suspicious, specifically, I should say, Kaito. Kind of calls him out for the idea of like using people's bodies certainly without their permission, right? Like, where's Stacey during this entire time? I think he explains that he's stuck sort of like in his subconscious sort of thing. But Kaito really pushes the idea like, you want us to trust you, yet you are going around embodying other people and not even letting them know or asking permission. That sounds like a pretty villainous thing to kind of do, right? Like, I don't necessarily know if I'm okay with that. So we do see the idea of this god or entity at least giving Stacey back certainly his body, but he does at least play with it a little bit more towards the end of this episode as he kind of goes through all the Zenkaigers systematically to kind of prove his point, right? After he winds up giving them revelations, while I don't necessarily even call them revelations so much as I do like predictions, if you will. Revelations, I feel like maybe it's just so biblical. Like, and when it comes to revelations, I just think of like mind-blowing things that are going to happen in your life, or moments that are going to happen in the life that are really going to sort of like change everything, right? These really weren't revelations. Just the idea of like, I'm going to predict your next 3 worlds. Here you go, here you go, here you go. That's cool and all. I just don't see that as a revelation. That's definitely much more of a prediction, if you ask me. But regardless of all that, they eventually do get to the point to where they eventually believe him and decide to go ahead and team up with this particular god. What I'm really fascinated is what his true motives certainly are. And the reason why I ask that is we also get ourselves a significant scene in here where he embodies just a normal person that's actually dating a Kikai-noid. They're clearly in a romance, kissing each other, if you will, but homeboy winds up embodying this person's body, and he winds up pushing the Kikai-noid through one of the gates that leads back to the Toji Tendo Palace. This is not the first time he's done that. He did that before in the previous episode, sending people back where they certainly belong. I'm under the impression that he's sending them to the Toji Tendo Palace to be captured, more so than just sending them back into their particular world of Kikai-noid sort of thing, right? Because I don't believe Kikai-noid or Kikaitopia has been liberated as of yet. So I'm very much under the impression he's just giving back these Kikainoid people to the Toji Tendo. So I am kind of curious as to what his true motivations are. Clearly he's probably lying to Kaito, has a mission of his own that he's trying to accomplish. The fact that he feels comfortable enough to think, oh, Kaito will never find out if I just control random everyday people, sort of thing, right? So he definitely has his own mission that he's trying to do outside of the idea of taking down the Toji Tendo. Like maybe he's just trying to lead the Zenkaigers to their demise. Kind of maybe hoping that the Toji Tendo does sort of take them out. I really don't know what this god or entity is trying to do, and I'm trying to figure out, where is he? Where did this character come from, right? Like I'm looking in each scene trying to think to myself, is there somebody in this series or a particular scenes that happen throughout this season that shows he's either always in the room with you guys, he's always watching, because his power set comes in and kicks in whenever he wants to. And there's another reason why I kind of want to go back and watch Zenkaiger all the way through, which is mind-blowing to me because I really don't want to have to sit down and watch it. But I feel like there are moments throughout this season where we have seen this power sort of kind of take place, right? That maybe at the time we didn't fully understand, when their eyes glow type of thing, right? Like I'm sure that's happened several times to Gege in the past. What else kind of took place during those moments? The idea of maybe even seeing somebody that's not necessarily acting the same way, that weird sort of glitch or like static that we've seen pop up from time to time, right? Like I wonder how many more times in this season that sort of stuff has happened, but we're now just recognizing it as we're this far along into the season. So look, I guess for me, while I dig the idea that, oh my goodness, this god, this creator, if you will, is now on the scenes to kind of add a new wrinkle, I mean, that's cool and all, but I am scratching my head because I want to see, is he attached to the overall bigger picture of what this series has certainly represented? Like, has this series, these writers given us like 40 plus episodes of something that really don't matter up until this particular point in time, right? Like I'm hoping that he has a much bigger inclusion into this series than literally just the last like 6 or 7 episodes of this particular season. So we'll see what happens. Like it does feel like this is kind of very much leading into Dawn Brothers, that maybe the effects of what's happening in this particular storyline might have some trickle down effect or some residual effect going into Dawn Brothers after whatever is kind of solved or wrapped up here in Zenkaiger. But we'll definitely have to see. Like I am kind of curious if this is maybe another villain from Dawn Brothers interfering somehow. I really have no idea, to the point to where, again, it's left me with a lot of questions trying to figure things out in regards to how Zenkaiger plans on certainly wrapping. But the god aspect definitely intrigues me. I'm just hoping that the payoff is definitely there. And quick honorable mention in regards to the worlds that this god or entity was predicting: Carrot World, Sapphire World, and Bat World. And which I gotta say, the fact that we had 3 worlds in here did lead to a lot of action, if you ask me. I felt like the action was definitely broken up and with great sort of individual scenes that really helped kind of push the story forward and focus on some of the characters. So overall, I thought the handling of all the villains this week definitely worked out when it comes to the action in here. But for me, I think my biggest takeaway out of this episode is just a little bit of Stacey. I thought this was a great scene between Kaito along with Stacey here, right? After this entity decides to release Stacey, let him come back into his own body, if you will. The nighttime hangout spot at the playground, which I think some of us could certainly remember some days like that, just hanging out with your buddies, having some deep conversations, or trying to get out of the house. You're stressed, you just want to go to the park, sort of thing, blow off some steam. I do love this moment between Kaito and Stacey. It just further develops their relationship, their bond, their friendship. And I love the fact that Kaito apologizes to Stacey in here. Clearly he's thankful for what Stacey did in regards to returning his father to him. But the thoughtfulness again, and the selflessness of Kaito, in the sense of, while acknowledging the good that Stacey did and thanking him, also the idea of remembering and understanding how hard it was to sort of remove one of the lone friends that Stacey had in his life, and leaving him alone in order to kind of get your father back, right? There was very much a two sides to the idea of Kaito getting his dad back. You know, definitely a good side and a bad side. And the fact alone that Kaito even thinks about Stacey in that manner, to think, while I'm personally benefiting, there is somebody else out there that has lost somebody to them. And so to be mindful enough like that, I think really continues to show me why I absolutely love Kaito as a red here, or I should say as the leader in this season. Because again, the thanks and the apology really worked out well. And I think this is also a great scene to kind of see exactly where Stacey's at in his life. You know, he definitely feels very much like he's kind of lost. You know, the idea that his initial intention was simply just to try and be better than his father and Barashitara and prove something wrong to him. And now finding yourself kind of falling down this rabbit hole of being controlled by this entity, you know, now being sort of a traitor to the Toji Tendo. He definitely is sort of like in this limbo, just kind of really free falling in the sense of not really sure where he's at in his life. But I do love the outreach that Kaito continues to give him. This isn't the first time we've seen Kaito outreach or outstretch his hand to Stacey, but if more than anything, this feels like definitely the moment in which Stacey will eventually make that decision to fight us alongside the Zenkaigers, and I definitely do think we're leading to that. It feels like that's going to be a moment from one of the preview that we wind up seeing for next week's episode. So I definitely expect Stacey to help out Kaito and the Zenkaigers in some way, shape, or form. But I just really continue to enjoy these two characters bond, and again, the fact that Kaito recognizes the loss, how lost Stacey feels in himself, and able to actually talk with Yi-chan about the idea of Stacey living with them or staying with them. I do love the idea that Yi-chan was like, well, it's not like we don't have our house full already, right? Like all the other Kikai Noids are certainly living with us from the Zenkaiger team. You know, no harm in more people at the table or more people around sort of thing. And it is one of those things that you definitely feel and believe like a character like Stacey needs in his life. You know, the guy is alone. He's got that attachment to Yi-chan. There is an aspect of him that appreciates maybe having friends or other people around to certainly help, right? Like we've seen these glimpses of Stacey and when he is sort of weak and not sort of pushing back. So just really great stuff and really great work in regards to Stacey and Kaito's situation here in this episode. And I'm really hoping that Stacey finds a happy ending. You know, like I'm a sucker for a great redemption story, to go from being a bad guy or misunderstood person to being accepted and becoming part of a family and a team sort of thing. You know, I hope Stacey gets that ending and it's not like a sacrificial one, or, you know, he came so close to redemption, but, you know, he died sort of thing. Like I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that when it comes to Stacey, but if that were to happen. So I hope we get a much better happy ending for Stacey, but Kaito always looking out for his boys, and I definitely appreciate that for sure. Let's see here. Quick honorable mentions in regards to Gege. You know, it was one of those things where I was thinking to myself, it was Gege using the ability originally, or, you know, when you see the brights, his eyes kind of light up bright. When you see that power being activated, I think we've always been under the impression for a while that it's Gege using his powers, but that's anytime he's being used. So anytime we see that moment, this is where the god entity is definitely sort of taking over. So they definitely established that here in this episode. And he even controls Gege again in order to ask Bokkowaus to send down specific worlds for them to go ahead and face against the Zenkaiger in order for the rest of the Zenkaigers to fully believe him that he's this god and this entity, if you will. But it seems as though Barashitara is certainly onto him. I don't think he truly understands the full capacity, but the fact alone that he spoke up to Bokkowaus blowing up Gege's spot in front of him, and still having Bokkowaus just sort of like put him down one more time, right? The idea of believing Barashitara over Gege is just non-existent in his mind. He absolutely loves some Gege, and it don't matter what Barashitara says or discovers, but they at least do come out to the idea that, look, there's a spy. There's somebody telling the Zenkaigers what we're doing, and even though Bokkowaus doesn't know who it is, it feels very much like Bokkowaus is ready to certainly get his hands dirty, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, we do see the Battle Caesar Robo in the preview, but it looks like it's got a completely different like color scheme or design to it. I do wonder if that's like Bokkowaus channeling himself through the Battle Caesar Robo, or if that's just another machine that Ijiru has certainly put together. But it seems as though at this particular point in time, Bokkowaus has had it up to here with all the interference and realizing that there is somebody among their midst that's kind of effing it up for everybody else. So, anytime you get the big bad powering up and getting ready to get involved, certainly worth paying attention, especially towards the finale. And then last but not least, Kaiser and the Gold Tweaker family. Listen, I rolled my eyes when I saw them in here. I expected them to certainly pop back up. When you had like 5 or 6 episodes left, it's hard to imagine the idea of the Kaiser not being in the remainder of the season. I was under the impression that the next time that we saw them, that we probably would see Ricky and Katana in their human forms. But no. There's still no cure for SD-topia and the curse that's on these kids. They're still certainly trying to look for it. I'm waiting to find out, are they going to turn back to kids by the end of this season? Like, they better. Like, I need to have some payoff, because that was a storyline here this season. And it is interesting to me, too, that they have become aware of Piratopia being liberated, but Zox is uncertain about the timing of it all. There is a part of me that wants to see Gold Tweaker go to Piratopia. I don't know why. I have my fingers crossed that maybe Captain Marvelous or Gokai Red himself will be there. I think as an anniversary season, it would be great to include him in some capacity or another. But clearly the pirates feel some type of way about Piratopia being liberated, right? Like, almost in a sense, like, I wonder if Zox feels like the timing of it all is weird. Maybe hoping that Piratopia would be a diversion for them to kind of stay away, right? Like, you liberate SD-topia, you possibly go back to SD world, try and find a curse, not able to do so, but you find Piratopia liberated as pirates, right? Like, the first urge is probably to go back home, and maybe they find themselves distracted and occupied and living their happy life on Piratopia, wherein the Zenkaigers probably really need his help, right? So who knows? Maybe it could have been a very well calculated move by the god themselves in order to distract Gold Tweaker from ever coming back. But it feels like, just with Zox being suspicious, he's probably going to be making his way back sooner rather than later. So I am intrigued. For me, there is a part of me that's a little bit bummed, because I feel like sometimes when you include additional questions or mysteries so late in the season, that sometimes the payoff isn't fully there, or maybe it takes away from the other storylines that we've been following along with so much. And it's just interesting to me, right, that a couple of the storylines that we've had, the Ricky and Katana SD stuff, they've been looking for SD World, they got them, but Ricky and Katana aren't changed, right? Right now, it feels very much like that's a incomplete storyline. Kaito has been wanting to find his parents. Now, granted, Kaito has found both of his parents, his mom and dad, but they literally have only been around for like 1 episode, and now they're lost again, if you will, traveling different dimensions. While I'm sure we'll definitely probably see them again, the fact that I feel like I've been undercut, like they haven't fully promised me resolutions to some of these stories when we have like 3 episodes left. Granted, there's plenty of time, and now we've got ourselves another mystery to certainly be solved towards the very end of this. I'm just really hoping that Zenkaiger can put a really great bow and ribbon on it. at least solidify or close some of the storylines in here. Because if all these storylines just roll over into Don Brothers, I'm gonna be pissed, man. I'm gonna be a little bit pissed in the sense that I spent 45 plus episodes and you haven't answered or resolved anything for me. So please, Zenkaiger, please stick this landing. I am intrigued, but there is a level of concern that I certainly do have. But I enjoyed the episode. I really did enjoy the episode here this week. But listen, again, these are just my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to this week's episode of Zenkaiger. And we will definitely be back later on this week. We probably have some more Don Brothers content coming your way after the press conference. That's bound to happen later on this week. So we'll definitely talk about it then. And then, of course, join us every Saturday live at noon Central Time for our episode of A+ Morphinominal. But until then, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Full throttle, non-stop. Have a good one, guys. Bye.